Have you ever bid a new construction job? Then something comes up and the builder just assumed it was included, but you knew it wasn't? But you had nothing in writing, so you ended up doing the extra and just ate the cost? If this ever happened, then this video is for you. Today we're going to talk about how we can make a bulletproof new construction estimate. One that will not only protect our profits, but will keep you from becoming an unpaid intern in the construction world. By the end of this episode, you're going to know how to set up estimates that will win jobs, impress builders, and most importantly, keep money in your pocket. Let's jump right in. The first thing we really want to drive home is the power of details. Since we're specifically discussing new construction projects, it is possible that you could do many estimates for one builder. For that reason, at the top of every estimate, I always type in the project address. Why? Well, simply put, the details matter. Many years ago, I did 2 bids for the same builder. They were similar sized houses and just a couple of lots apart, so the addresses were very similar. Yet the finishes inside were extremely different. And guess what? The builder ended up mixing up the 2 bids. It ended up creating some confusion for me, but it was even worse for the builder because they need to make sure that the right money goes on the right loan. So that was my lesson learned. Now I make sure I put the address on the top, front, center of every single estimate that I do. As a side benefit, it helps me to be able to keep track of everything. And the builder appreciates that because it saves them time, it's well organized, and it makes me stand out. And an organized painter is going to win more jobs. Now, right under the address, I put a note line. And arguably, this is the most important part of the estimate. And why? Because people read estimates like teenagers read instructions, and that is barely. Most people, when they get an estimate, they automatically go down, they look at the total number, then they might look at the big ticket items and simply ignore the details. That's why I always try to put that fine print, so to speak, in the notes section, top and center. That way, it's hard for them to be able to miss it. This line item is necessary because it's the do's and don'ts of the job. What are some things that I would put in this line item? Well, I'll give you a few examples. What if you had some cabinets that needed to be painted and you wanted to make sure that you could set up in the garage to be able to spray them properly? I would definitely put that in there. Or what if you were promised full solo access to the house during certain dates? That's another key ingredient that I would make sure that I would put inside this note line. That way there was no, oh, we didn't know that you needed that. Another thought, what if the trim was supposed to come pre-primed? I would make sure that I would put that in there as well. And the reason why we're doing all this is because we need to make sure that we protect ourselves, because when we do that, we're just naturally protecting our profits. And once again, this is all done by putting that fine print front and center where they can't miss it. I also make sure in this note line that I let the builder know that if there's any change to the scope of work, that it needs to be told to me in writing. Very simply, this could be a text or an email. Why would I do this? Well, verbal agreements, they disappear quicker than free donuts on a job site. We need to get it in writing. Or we're going to end up repainting a room for free because we felt guilty, because someone did the whole, well, I thought I told you thing. The next thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that we cover our bases. Let's talk about blueprints. One of the key things that we need to put down is the date that the print was made. Let me show you a quick example. Somewhere on this print here, we'll find it. There we go. This one has a date right here. It's located on the side. But you notice next to it, there's a bunch of dates of revision. We see for this particular print that it was updated 4 times. Now, each of these updates could mean potentially thousands of dollars for us. We need to make sure that we write the most recent date so that we can specify the exact version of this print that we are bidding off of. We do this in an effort to be able to cover ourselves. That way, if the builder comes to me later and points at the blueprint and says, well, you missed this, I can look at the date, then I can reference my estimate and say, oh, no, this one has been revised since I did that estimate. And since there's something new, that means that there's a change order in my future and hopefully more money. I do the same thing by writing the finished total square feet of a house. Let me show you another print of a project that I worked on recently. This one's interesting, and I will say typically on a lot of prints, somewhere on them, it's going to have those numbers for you. And here we see this house, the finished square feet is 2,063. But as you look at it, you can see that automatically we have a couple of questions. Is the 3-season porch getting coated? What about the front porch? For the most accurate bid, you would want to call the builder and make sure that we get these questions answered. And sometimes time might prevent us from doing that. So if that's the case, I'm going to have 3 line items, and in it, they're going to be very specific about exactly what I am and am not going to do in these spaces. But for the main estimate and for the sake of this discussion, we're just going to say that all we're going to worry about is this 2,063 square feet. Now, why would I do this? Let's take a look at the print again. Do you see this massive basement here? You notice it's all unfinished. We need to keep in mind that homeowners, they change their mind and they do that frequently. Very quickly, something can pivot, and I'll guarantee you, you won't be notified. So if your estimate was super vague and you said something like, I'll paint the finished part of the house, and you just looked at the estimate and you assumed it was a 2,063 square feet, but now they finished the entire basement so the square footage almost doubled, then you're going to have a little bit of extra work on your hands trying to figure that out, resubmit a bid, hopefully the builder won't be upset, and that just creates a whole nother set of problems. But if you write that total square feet, you include that in that line item, you can either prove what is or what is not included in that estimate. Here's another really important thing that I always make sure that I put in my new construction estimates, and that is I go and I look for the finished schedule. Now, this is a confusing chart that's often buried very deep in the bowels of the blueprint, and it looks like someone lost a fight with an Excel spreadsheet. Let me give you an example. Here it is. I look into it, we dig into that, we can pull out a lot of key information. This one's actually pretty good. You can see that it very boldly lists the colors, the names, the numbers, and it's very easy for us to be able to find here. I make sure I put all those in the note line. Also, are the cabinets, are they supposed to be painted? Are they supposed to be stained? That gets included as well. Now, you might be noticing that this section is getting really long, but it's also a super helpful part of our estimate. In addition to it becoming a list of do's and don'ts for the project, this line item becomes a quick reference guide for me later. What if a question came up about what space is or is not included? Or what if I needed to order some paint and I couldn't quite remember what the color name or the number was? Well, instead of digging through 14 pages on a blueprint, all I need to do is open my estimate and look at the very top of it, and it's all right there for me. So maybe you're starting to get a sense of why I do these types of things for these new construction estimates. It's obviously a little bit more work on the front end, but it shows that I actually read the plans, and builders really do appreciate that. Plus, if something changes, I can easily point back at it and say, hey, that wasn't in the original finished schedule. And trust me, clear notes builds trust, and it keeps you from working for free. Now that we've taken the time and we've broken down the note line, you're one step closer when it comes to creating that crystal clear, professional estimate that's going to stand out to builders. By adding these crucial details like the project address, the date and the revisions of the blueprint, the total square feet, and any special instructions, you'll ensure that your estimate is not just another page on the paper pile. You'll also get the side benefit of avoiding misunderstandings. You're going to build trust, and you're going to protect yourself from losing profits, all the while making sure that your value shines through in the details. These small actions go a long way when it comes to landing a job. Now, are you ready to take this a step further? In our next episode, we're going to dive into other line items that we would want in this new construction bid. We're going to break them down so that they're going to be clear and precise. In the meantime, since we're talking about new construction, do you know how to find the total finished square feet of a new construction home? If not, check out our video here and it's going to beautifully break it down for you. Plus, as we look at this video, I'm going to share with you how we can calculate the total amount of paint that we need for any new construction project in a mere 30 seconds or less. Now, we know you wouldn't want to miss that. In the meantime, please make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and the notification button so you're all set for our upcoming future episodes. And if you have any questions or tips when it comes to writing the most bulletproof new construction estimate, please make sure you put them in the comments below. We'll see you next time.